Do you know the timeline of the Titanic's final hours? Let's start at 5:50 p.m. when Captain Smith changes the Titanic's course after receiving iceberg warnings. On this fateful day, iceberg warnings were a common occurrence, flooding in from all directions. Despite these warnings, Captain Smith made a decision to alter the course of the Titanic, steering it slightly south. One would assume that with such warnings, the ship's speed would be decreased. However, that wasn't the case. The Titanic continued to cut through the icy waters of the North Atlantic at full speed, a decision that would later prove to be catastrophic. As the clock ticked towards the evening, the Titanic sailed on, oblivious to the danger that lay ahead. The passengers, blissfully unaware, carried on with their evening activities, the iceberg warnings nothing more than whispers in the wind. As the evening progresses, the Titanic is heading into danger, unbeknownst to her passengers. At 9:40 p.m., the Titanic receives a warning about an ice field, but this warning goes unheeded. The message comes from the Mesaba, warning of heavy pack ice and a great number of large icebergs. The wireless operator, a man named Jack Phillips, is swamped with passenger messages, and in the chaos, the critical warning never reaches the Titanic's bridge. As the evening wears on, shifts change on the bridge. First Officer William Murdoch relieves Second Officer Charles Lightoller, taking over as the officer of the watch. In the crow's nest, lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee begin their watch, eyes straining against the darkness. The night is unusually calm, a deceptive tranquility that makes icebergs more difficult to see. There are no waves breaking against the ice, no telltale white caps to signal danger ahead. To add to their troubles, the crow's nest binoculars have gone missing, further hampering their ability to spot icebergs in the distance. At 10:55 p.m., a radio message comes from the nearby Californian. "Say, old man, we are stopped and surrounded by ice." Phillips, already overwhelmed and irritable, snaps back. Shut up, I'm busy, I'm working Cape Race." The majority of the Titanic's passengers, oblivious to the mounting danger, have retired to their rooms for the night. The ship sails on, the atmosphere tense and charged as the bridge and crow's nest remain on high alert. At 11:35 p.m., the Californian's wireless operator switches off his radio, the line of communication going silent. Despite the iceberg warnings and the shifting watch, the Titanic continues on its fateful course. A course that will soon bring it face to face with the very danger it had been warned about. A danger lurking in the darkness, waiting to seal the Titanic's fate. At 11:35 p.m., the lookouts spot an iceberg in the Titanic's path. This was a moment that would change the course of history. Lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, stationed in the Titanic's crow's nest, had begun their watch at 10 that evening. The night was unusually calm, making icebergs more difficult to see since there were no waves breaking at their base. To add to the difficulties, the crow's nest's binoculars had been misplaced. When Fleet saw the iceberg, he rang the warning bell 3 times, a signal for something ahead. He then phoned the bridge, alerting them of the imminent danger. First Officer William Murdoch, who had relieved Second Officer Charles Lightoller as the officer of the watch, reacted instantly. He ordered the Titanic hard a starboard or to the left and reversed the engines. He also closed the doors to the supposedly watertight compartments, a feature designed to keep the ship afloat in case of such emergencies. But the Titanic was a massive ship, and despite Murdoch's quick thinking and swift actions, the starboard side of the ship scraped along the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. The collision was a catastrophic blow. Captain Smith, who had arrived on deck, was informed that the ship had struck an iceberg. Reports soon came in of water flooding the mailroom. It wasn't long before it was discovered that water was filling at least 5 of the ship's compartments. Designer Thomas Andrews was called upon to survey the damage. The Titanic was built to remain afloat with only 4 compartments flooded, but with at least 5 compartments compromised, the situation was grave. Andrews made a chilling prediction. The ship would sink in about 1 to 2 hours. The Titanic, the ship that was deemed unsinkable, had hit an iceberg. The consequences of this collision were dire. The clock was ticking, and the fate of over 2,000 people hung in the balance. It was only a matter of time before the unthinkable would become a reality. The Titanic has hit an iceberg, and the consequences are dire. Immediately after the collision, the Titanic's crew begins to grasp the gravity of the situation. Reports trickle in of water infiltrating the ship's compartments. The mailroom, a vital hub of communication, is filling with icy seawater. In no time, water is reported in at least 5 of the ship's 16 watertight compartments. The ship's designer, Thomas Andrews, is roused from his cabin to survey the damage. He knows that the Titanic was designed to remain afloat, with up to 4 compartments flooded. But with water in 5 compartments, the unsinkable ship is now in grave danger. His prediction is grim. The Titanic has only about 1 to 2 hours before it succumbs to the Atlantic's icy grip. With this chilling news, the crew begins to ready the lifeboats. But there's a problem. The 20 lifeboats on board can accommodate just over half of the over 2,200 people on the ship. The order is given for women and children to board first, with crewmen to row and guide the boats. The lifeboats, meant to be a last resort, are now the only hope for survival. In a desperate bid for help, Captain Smith orders wireless operators Phillips and Harold Bride to send out a distress signal. The Frankfurt, some 170 nautical miles away, is among the first to respond. Even the Titanic's sister ship, the Olympic, offers assistance but is too far away. The Carpathia, a Cunard liner, receives the distress signal and immediately changes course to aid the stricken ship. But it's 58 nautical miles away, a distance that will take more than 3 hours to traverse. Meanwhile, 4th Officer Joseph G. Boxhall revises the ship's coordinates in the distress signals. The Titanic's musicians, in a bid to maintain calm, play on as passengers wait to board the lifeboats. In the early hours of April 15, 1912, the Titanic is sinking. The crew sends out distress signals, but help is too far away. As the Titanic sinks, the passengers and crew face their final moments. The ship's wireless operators, Phillips and Bride, are ordered to send out distress signals. In the face of imminent disaster, they continue to transmit both the modern SOS and the older CQD signals, reaching out to any ship within range. The Frankfurt, one of the first to respond, is too far to provide immediate help. Even the Titanic's sister ship, the Olympic, is too distant to lend aid. The Carpathia, though 58 nautical miles away, immediately changes course upon receiving the Titanic's distress signal. However, it would take more than 3 hours for the Carpathia to reach the stricken ship. Meanwhile, the Titanic's musicians strive to keep the waiting passengers calm, playing music as the lifeboats are readied for launch. And so, in the early hours of April 15, 1912, the Titanic sinks. The events of these final hours remain a haunting reminder of the tragedy that unfolded.